This is Deanna.
This is Candice.
And you're listening to
No Fucking Way. Hello, writing. And I just hadn't looked at myself all day, and then I sat here and I was like, holy shit.
I don't like wearing red.
I don't either.
I think it looks ugly on me.
It is it's actually very ugly on a lot of people.
Yeah, it is.
Red is. It's not a nice color, especially if you have any kind of like rosy pink undertone in your skin. Oh my gosh, it's so ugly. And then I slipped into something a little more comfortable for you, a nice black pullover, and I just feel like myself immediately. I don't know why I was wearing that. So I watched Little Miss Innocent.
Oh, okay, good.
And I didn't text you about it all week. But I definitely want to know what you think. Because I thought of you the whole time I was watching it.
Okay, so like when I saw the previews on Instagram, I was like, oh, well, like let's set it up a little bit. There's a documentary on Hulu called Little Miss Innocent, and it's about this girl who was accused of and eventually convicted of poisoning her ex-boyfriend's mother. Basically, they worked together, and it's just telling the story or whatever. It's 3 episodes, I think, and. Yeah. When I first saw it, I was like, of course, like my inclination is always to think that the person's innocent.
Right.
And I saw some of the comments that were like, she's guilty. And I was like, yeah, that's not surprising. You know, that's just how people are.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you, the whole first 2 episodes, the way they set it up, I was like, wow, like this girl's actually innocent. I don't see how people thought she was guilty. I don't understand why they think that.
Okay.
But then finally in the 3rd episode, they start getting into
her.
What they actually had on her.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's undeniable. She's guilty for sure.
I absolutely felt the same exact way. The whole time she's talking about him. But honestly, in the first 2 episodes, what really threw me off is because I did think, so it's also like, the boyfriend was questioned too, her ex-boyfriend.
Right. It was like people were kind of speculating if it was the ex-boyfriend that killed his own mother or if it was his dad, so her husband.
Oh, yeah, right.
And it was funny because I was thinking, like, I watched it on separate days. Like, I think I watched episode 1 and 2, and then the next day I watched episode 3. But I remember going to bed that night and thinking, like, how in the hell are they going to get off accusing this poor girl that just works at the doctor's office
I know.
when her lion-ass husband is cheating on her with her sister, and, you know, there's, like, all this stuff that's going on.
She has you thinking the family is fucked up.
And I'm sure that both are true. Like
the son, for sure, the things that he was describing about him and the things that took place in their relationship. And even when you see him, which I know you're not supposed to judge in that way, but he looks like a fuckboy. Like
he looks evil.
Yes, he looks very evil. He looks like he did every single thing that she described that he did.
Yeah.
But I thought the same exact thing. I never thought the dad did it. Even with like dating the sister and all that, I was like, well, that's his happily ever after then. Like I never thought that the dad did it.
I thought maybe he did just because he's a doctor, and that was how she poisoned her with a medication that she ordered. And I was thinking, well, it was him, obviously, like only doctors can order that. But the girl worked at the doctor's office. They were like chiropractors or something.
Yeah.
And she basically like kind of impersonated him, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I just kind of thought like, what's your gain? You two are the same. Y'all are equals. You run a business together. Like, what do you know, there was just no kind of like, I don't know. And I know there don't have to be signs that like other people would see for you to kill your spouse, but I just never really, I thought it was the son more than anything. That girl is crazy. But what really was throwing me off in the first 2 episodes was that the title of the show is so like, there's no way she agreed to the title of the show.
I know, it's so
it shouldn't
condescending.
Yeah, it very is condescending. Just little Miss Innocent over here.
Yeah.
She did nothing. That's exactly how it comes off. Her, when she answers questions, the way she answers them so sternly, and then like she smiles really big, and then she just goes like stone face, and she looks like a crazy person.
Yeah, that was one part of the previews that I thought was crazy because she's like, they're like, "Did you kill Mary Yoder?" And she just starts laughing, and then
Yes,
she like she tries to compose herself, and she's like, "Ha! Ha, ha." No, no, I didn't.
it's
I was
creepy
like,
as shit.
I thought that they like clipped that together. I was like, that's
There's no
they like
way.
put that together. There's no way that's
Yes.
how she answered that. Like they're
Yeah.
just trying to get you to watch.
Remember
But
I showed you, you told me to watch it and I had already screenshot something about it? That was the clip
mhm.
that I saw. I was like, "What a crazy bitch." I'm like, "What?" I thought the
Yeah,
same thing. I'm like, "They edited this to make this girl look
right.
like she's nutso." It was really, really good.
It was good.
And you started watching The Jinx?
I did. Yeah.
Do you
God, I
like
didn't
it?
know it was going to be such a commitment.
Yeah, I forgot it was more than one. We watched it for a while when it came out, I remember. It's like a whole I forgot it was broke up in seasons though.
And I'm like, I'm sure that he probably is guilty. It's kind of just the common denominator here in all of these
Yeah.
cases that are
Yeah,
involved.
right.
But he's such a likable guy. I actually Googled last night, why do I like Robert Durst? And there was like some Reddit posts where people were saying like, that they like him, that he's a likable guy, even though he seems guilty.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cause
I
in a
remember.
lot of ways, like up until so I'm on like the fifth of the six episodes or whatever. Um Up until then, like he actually seems like he's telling the truth to me.
Yeah, he has his shit together.
Yeah, he seems like really believable
Yeah.
until they do that thing where like they take a break and he's on hot mic and he starts practicing what he's going to say next, and his lawyer has to come over and say you're on a hot mic, everybody can hear what you're saying.
Oh. And then he has to come back and sit down.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So good. I want to watch it again because it was so long. What, it was like 2016 or 2017 when that came out?
Yeah, I think it's pretty old.
Something like,
I'm
yeah,
very behind
I know
on
you are, but
things.
so many people don't know about it. But it's really good, and I do want to watch it again because I don't understand the second season really, and maybe it's because I forgot what happened, or the third season that's out, or whatever documentary or something that's out about it now. Because I thought he had died
I
because
think he is dead.
he is dead, right?
Mhm.
So what is this newer thing that came out?
I don't know.
Maybe it's just a documentary about it and not like an actual interview.
Yeah.
Something. It has like footage of him in jail though. I don't know. I'm gonna stop talking because I don't know what I'm talking about, but there is something newer about him out. If you know what we're talking about, watch The Jinx. It's on HBO, right?
Yeah.
It's really, really good. Did you watch anything else or do anything else? Go anywhere?
I don't think so.
See anyone?
No.
Me either. So do you want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm just gonna start telling it. I don't think we've ever talked about this incident before. So that's exciting. I'm hoping you've never heard of it because if you have, just don't say anything.
Okay.
So this is in April of 2006. Whitney and Laura both attend Taylor University in Indiana. It's like a small Christian liberal arts school. Laura is a senior and graduating in about 3 weeks, and she's the youngest of four siblings. Whitney is a freshman. Her older sister Carly also attends Taylor University. Their parents also graduated from there as well. And both of these families are as Christian as they come. Whitney's dad, Newell, at the time was working with their church in Louisiana, helping rebuild from Hurricane Katrina damage. They're both from different parts of Indiana. The families don't know each other, but the school itself is kind of smaller. Laura and Whitney aren't exactly friends, more like acquaintances. There's also an age gap, but they do know each other and they have mutual friends. So on April 26th, staff and students, including Laura and Whitney, were traveling from Fort Wayne about an hour away from the campus to help set up a banquet event. Later in the afternoon, they're on their way back. They're split between two vans, like shuttle vans, and are traveling back from the event. On the way home down Highway 69, one of the vans carrying 9 people was sideswiped by a semi truck that crossed over from the other lane at the very second they were passing each other, ripping open the side of the van and throwing most of the passengers out.
Oh my god.
I've always been so confused about like seatbelts. You don't have to wear seatbelts if you're in some kind of shuttle van like this, and like a 15 passenger van. If you get pulled over and no one has their seatbelt on, it's fine. Why? And like there's no seatbelts on school buses.
Right, yeah. I remember there used to be seatbelts on school buses, but then it turned out like they were actually more dangerous because something to do with like if there was a fire, it's harder for the kids to get out or something. I don't know.
It's just, but you have to wear a seatbelt on a plane.
Yeah.
As if we collide with something in the air while I'm on a plane, my seatbelt is gonna save me.
I think that's so you don't propel yourself for like and kill anybody with your body. You know, if
But
there's turbulence or something like that.
I just think everything that's moving should have a seatbelt. And like I have to have a seatbelt in my car, but you don't have to have a seatbelt on a you're riding on a motorcycle just out in the air just with nothing.
Yeah.
I don't
I don't
understand.
think you should have to wear a seatbelt in a car. I think it should be a choice.
And how
I don't think it should be
like I get a
illegal.
ticket for my seatbelt, but then the mailman doesn't have a door or a seatbelt. I'm like, what the fuck? The rules don't mean anything. The
No, they don't.
rules are shit. Okay, so there were 2 buses. Only the leading one was involved in the crash. 5 of the 9 passengers are dead immediately before the medics are even on the scene. Their names were Brad, Monica, Betsy, Laurel, and Whitney. The other 4 people were in pretty rough shape, one being Laura, who was life flighted to a trauma center. So, Whitney, as I mentioned, her sister Carly also goes to Taylor University, and she's on campus for a tennis match when her boyfriend pulls up with the knowledge that this accident has happened. They both knew Whitney went to set up for the event, so they're both freaking out and wondering if she's okay. This is 2006, so cell phones are kind of you either have one or you don't, but they're just not glued to people's hands like they are now. It was not as easier to get a hold of each other, and also I feel like service was different, and it's just
Yeah, that's true.
not like it is today. So they're trying to gather information and trying to get a hold of people. It was just a lot different than it is now. Carly calls her what?
I was just thinking about uh, how back in the day you had a certain number of texts.
Oh, that you
You
could
know,
send.
you had a certain number of minutes on your
Yeah,
phone.
yeah, yeah. And if you had the number, like if one of your friends was in another state or something, or if even if their phone number didn't start with the same area code as yours, it like was a fee.
Yeah.
Bizarre. So Carly calls her mom. They're both blowing up Whitney's phone, and Whitney she's not answering because she's dead. Newell, the dad, was in Louisiana, as I mentioned. They call him and tell him what's going on, even though they don't have a lot of information. So he starts calling Whitney too from states away. It just makes me feel sick. I've just seen so many scary movies of someone who just died and like their phones blowing up.
Yeah.
So horrible. So he's states away. He's in pure panic. Carly and her boyfriend rush to the chapel of the school where people have gathered, praying, spreading, and collecting information of all who exactly was on the buses. Who do we know is safe? Who's been taken to the hospital? They're just trying to get information. Colleen, the mom, finally receives a call after several frantic outgoing ones, and it's a coroner. They briefly go over the trauma to Whitney's body and let Colleen know that Whitney did not survive. This is the hospital she's at. Come and make arrangements. Carly and Colleen were both given the opportunity to see Whitney's body, and they decline after, I'm sure, being told something along the lines of, I don't know if you would want to see her in this way. They're
Would
given her,
you?
I think, depending on what exactly they described, and they did describe all the injuries and stuff, and just basically said she doesn't look like Whitney. But if you want to come in, you can, but if not, she's been identified. Here's her purse. They gave her purse to them, and everything was like broken. It smelled like gasoline. It's just like a dirty, mangled bag. It was unrecognized, and that's just her purse.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, no, thank you. Newell, the dad, flew home, I think, and he made it there super late that night or the next day early. They find themselves at Whitney's dorm, collecting all of her belongings and writing out Whitney's obituary. On the way to the funeral, her parents, who lived a few hours away, they had to pass the crash site to get there, and they see 5 wooden crosses and the torn up ground where the accident happened. The school was hosting the funeral, and 1,400 people attended. This was just for Whitney. This was just for her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure, like, the whole school probably went to everyone's, though. Her parents met the campus officer that identified Whitney and thanked him profusely, knowing he probably had terrible images in his head for the rest of his life, being one of the first ones on the scene. They planned Whitney's closed casket funeral, which actually takes place on her 19th birthday. So this was
Oh.
also her birthday, yeah. They played a video on a loop of all of her previous birthday parties.
Oh.
I know.
That's so
I
sad.
know. Heartbreaking. So Laura, who I said was life-flighted from the scene, who was in critical condition, she was thrown 50 feet from the bus. The hospital gets a hold of her parents, Dawn and Susie, and let them know she's stable, but they aren't sure what's going to happen. If she does live, she's not going to be herself. So that's if she does live. So you should get here as soon as you can. And they live 3 hours away. That's got to be the longest car ride of all time. They keep in
Yeah, seriously.
contact. And on the way there, they do try to keep in contact with people from the hospital, and the hospital is also calling them about certain things because they're also trying to work on her. They had to get permission to drill a hole in Laura's head to insert a tube that would relieve and monitor pressure. Her parents said absolutely. This is like the most chaotic, horrible phone drive and phone call. Like, you're making life or death situations, and you have or life or death decisions,
Decisions. Mm-hmm.
knowing you have a 3-hour drive ahead of you. Like, how are you even focusing on doing that and like stopping at stop signs? They also call Laura's boyfriend Aaron, and they're, to tell him what's going on, so they're trying to answer his questions also. They get to the hospital and finally see some of Laura's friends waiting, and Aaron's also there. They meet the paramedics from the site, where they tell Laura's parents that it is the worst accident that he has ever seen before. So when Laura's family gets to the hospital finally, I couldn't find if all of her siblings came there because she had 3 other siblings, but her parents and her boyfriend were there. The doctors prepared them to see Laura. They really went into detail about what they were walking into. There's bruising and swelling and wraps and bandages. There's a tube in her head. There's machines keeping her alive. She's not really going to look like herself. They gave her parents Laura's belongings, like the plastic hospital bag of stuff. And Susie said something like, this isn't her stuff. And she was saying that, like, this was a horrible wreck. I don't want to take someone else's things if their parents want.
Yeah.
Like, this is not her stuff. And they said, well, these are the clothes we cut off of her, like, and the shoes. This is her stuff. So she's like, okay. So over the next few days, the family learns that Laura has a broken clavicle, broken leg, several broken ribs, a broken elbow, but more seriously, she experienced something called brain shearing. And that's a traumatic brain injury that occurs when the brain's nerve fibers are torn or sheared. And this can happen when the brain is injured and moves or rotates inside the skull.
Holy shit.
So that happened on impact. Her brain slammed into her skull so hard that it turned.
Oh my god.
So she's on a long road to recovery, like
Right.
cross country road trip to recovery. She gets a tracheotomy so she can remove the tubes from her mouth. Someone is by her sides at all times, family wise. Someone is in there. She went through multiple surgeries for weeks. Someone was always there. Friends visited daily. Weeks have gone by. Laura's gradually getting some strength back, not really moving yet, but she can hold and squeeze like your hand if she's holding your hand. She yawns one day and her sister realizes that her like mouth is messed up. Like the impact completely like changed her smile. Her teeth were like shorter, like pushed up or something.
Mhm.
So Laura's family, that's just like cosmetic though, so they don't really do anything about it then. Laura's family is now at the school to attend the funeral for Whitney that I told you about, just to be supportive. Like I said, they probably went to all of the funerals for all the kids. It's a tight community. Whitney and Laura's dads are chatting. Whitney's dad obviously says, we're praying for Laura's health and survival. At the service, Colleen and Newell obviously are feeling lost. They're reluctant to leave Carly at Taylor University. She goes there. They don't want to leave her, but it's just kind of like life just goes on. You have this gut-wrenching thing that takes your breath away, and then your whole life is different. You just have to go back to work.
Right.
So it's been about 5 weeks, and she was in a coma for 5 weeks. So she's kind of coming to, um, and they describe like it's not like if you on TV or in movies or something, when you see someone come out of a coma, they just like look at you and smile and
Yeah.
say hi. Like it's not like that. They kind of describe it as like drowning. I read you kind of feel like you come up for air and you kind of gasp for air, and then you're kind of out again, and then you like it takes a while to come out of a coma, and it
Yeah.
probably looks a little scary if you're sitting right there witnessing it. And also depending on why you were in a coma, the way you come out of it is like different for everyone.
Yeah, I'm sure like medically induced is different than
Right, than like a
I guess
brain injury
injury
or
induced.
something.
Yeah.
And she has a physical brain injury.
Right.
So Laura finally one morning does, after doing the in and out and the whole like motions of coming in and out and the drowning appearance, she finally does speak and she says hi. They wind up moving her to a rehabilitation room, and she's in a pretty confused state, but she is making progress. She's mixing up names of visitors, which seems normal. She's calling her sister Lisa Carly. She's like very hot and cold towards her boyfriend. She's just super moody with everyone all around, but that is normal for coming out of a coma. And she also doesn't really
Yeah.
understand what's going on. It seems explainable. So she was shown a picture of her college roommates and she identified all of them. But then she called her boyfriend the wrong name. But again, like this is all normal. Your memories are so spotty for years, some people have experienced. So also talking is hit or miss. Sometimes she could talk, sometimes she couldn't. Some people can't walk. Some people lose their fine motor skills for weeks. So she's in physical therapy one day and they're telling her different things to write. Her dad's there and they have her write her name and she writes Whitney. And
Mhm.
her dad is like, okay. But the therapist reassures him that this is normal. And Don, her dad, was like, definitely, he's kind of weary, but then he's wheeling Laura back to her room and she whispers to him, she can't really move her mouth, but she whispers to him, false parents. And he's like, what the heck? Like, what does that even mean? What are you talking about? Don actually takes this a little personally because he's like, we've been by your side every single day. He's
You
getting
ungrateful little bitch.
right. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's getting pretty upset and being a little irrational, but it's also probably like they've been through a lot as well.
Right.
So he's frustrated and exhausted and beat down, but he does just try to play it cool. Susie hears the mom, she hears all of this that took place, and she kind of already had a sinking feeling like, what if this isn't Laura?
Mhm.
But she was too nervous or unsure to like say it out loud.
Yeah.
Not that she saw anything that made her think that. Just wow, like just a random thought, like that would be really crazy if this isn't actually Laura. So a few nights later, Dawn and Susie, they have close friends come to dinner at the rehab facility, and they had not seen Laura yet. And when they did, they made a strange look at each other, and they didn't say much the rest of the evening. And Dawn and Susie, when they left, they're like, "What was wrong with them?" Like they were being really really weird and did not interact with Laura at all. And they've known her since she was like a toddler, a kid. Lisa, Laura's sister, decides to kind of delve into this more, even asking her dad, what if Laura isn't Laura? And he's like, no, she's been identified. The therapist addressed their concern head on. Also, hundreds of people have been in her room to visit her in the last 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Everyone that she knows has come to visit her, and no one has said anything. No one has noticed anything is off at all. Lisa immediately that day that Laura yawned, which was like right as soon as she came out of the coma, her sister was like, that's not Laura. Like this is not
Yeah.
that it wasn't her."
And I'm sure it's hard to try to come to terms with that because the alternative is that she's dead,
For
right?
sure. Yeah, for sure.
So it's
I
like I don't want it to not be or I don't want it to be not be Laura
Yeah, right.
because the alternative is she's dead.
Where is she? I
Mhm.
also think depending on your parents and on your relationship with your parents, it is probably easier for a sibling to kind of be like the bullshit whistleblower, and like look into it maybe without your parents knowing, because you also don't want to hurt your parents more, but you're not going to sit there and think this and not say anything. Whereas I feel like some people's parents would be like, oh, how dare you, slap you across the face. Don't you dare say
Yeah.
that, especially after being there for 5 weeks with her. So they're all kind of thinking the same thing, but scared to actually say, what if this is not Laura? But like you just said, another layer to this is the alternative of, well, where is Laura if this isn't Laura? And but also more strongly for them, they're like, if this isn't her, this girl needs her family in here. Like,
Yeah.
not, she doesn't
Right.
run. She needs her family with her. So Don, the dad, was having a hard time with everything, just with the thought that there could have been a mix up with something as serious as this. He was really struggling. So he decides to talk to some more people about the scene of the accident and people that were there. So he's asking how identifications were made, and he's making phone calls. He speaks with the medics that were on site. And with this, he learns that visual identifications were made at the scene by students from the surviving bus and just by their personal belongings, basically. I don't know what else you're really supposed to do, but also it's been 5 weeks at this point. So like no one is missing. No
Yeah.
one no one is looking for someone that was on the bus that's like not there anymore. And I'm not in any way saying that to like blame them or judge them, but no one's missing a child. Like in the. So Lisa, her sister, a few days after this like little uproar, Lisa is the one that's persistent at the idea that this could have been an honest mistake, but she knows that something isn't right. She's wheeling Laura back a few days later from physical therapy, and they're alone for the first time. And she stops and kneels down to her, and she says, "You're doing great. We're really, really proud of you. You're making great progress. You're going to get better. Things are getting better. Can I ask you a question?" And Laura says, yes. And Lisa says, "What is your name?" And Laura says, "Whitney." It was explained away, kind
It gave
of.
me chills.
I know. It was explained away kind of when she wrote Whitney. They even
Yeah.
chalked it up. They even chalked it up also to like maybe Laura was she knows she's okay, and she's asking about other people that were with her, like other people that were on the trip, like
Yeah.
where is Whitney, where is Brad, where's Betsy, um That was also the first time she had written since coming out of a coma. So just the fact that she like wrote something, they were like, "Yay, good job. Let's get you back into bed."
Yeah.
Um, she also has a physical brain injury. So yeah, duh. She might not answer a thing or two correctly. So Lisa says, "What are your parents' names?" And she says Cerak, which is her last name. She said, "What are their first names?" And she says Newell and Colleen, which Laura, who they think this is, wouldn't know that because Laura and Whitney weren't friends. So to know this random girl's
Yeah.
parent names on like a first basis, she just wouldn't know that. So Lisa didn't react because she already knew. But also, she just continued to tell her that you're doing great and let's get you back into your room. Like, what an angelic human. Because
Yeah.
also Whitney's got to be like, who is Whitney now, who they thought was Laura, has been sitting in her room for a week staring at these people. Like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Here's my family. Like, thank you for being like listening to me, but now like,
It's
who
probably
are you?
causing her to be like extra confused.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like that. Now tell me your name. Like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
So, the first time she really looked at the people, I'm just wondering, like, when she woke up from her coma, the first time she looked at them, that must have been even more confusing than what they were. Just the most confusion. They're telling you that you're a completely different person, and
Yeah.
you already can't remember anything. I So Lisa calls for a little family meeting and also with the doctors because this is a realization unlike any other, and they need to get Whitney's parents there. But at the same time, they've just learned that their daughter and sister Laura has been dead for almost 6 weeks. So Colleen and Newell are contacted by the coroner. And this is Whitney's actual parents, Colleen and Newell, are contacted by the coroner, and they've already had a funeral for Whitney. Newell is out of town again, working for something for the church. Oh, they also had after Whitney's funeral, they let her best friends come over, her closest friends come over, and they just did like a little luncheon thing, and they let all of her friends like pick their favorite piece from her closet, like from her room. It's just like a remembrance thing to remember her
Yeah.
by. They had this like whole powwow at their house for her. They're still in mourning, this family. So Colleen's home, Newell's on another work trip. The coroner asked her if she's alone, and she said, "Well, I mean, it was like midnight." And she said, "Well, my daughter's here, but she's sleeping." And they said, "Well, go wake her up. We want her on the phone also." And they say, "We now know that the identified survivor of the accident, Laura VanRyn, is in fact not Laura. This has been confirmed through dental records recorded earlier today. We have reason to believe that it's actually Whitney." And
Oh my god.
to awake to this phone call, she's so confused because also how awful if they're wrong.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying, like, we have reason to believe your daughter's at the hospital, I would be like, what the fuck are you? You better hope.
Yeah. Are you sure?
You better fucking hope after calling me that that's my daughter.
Yeah.
So they asked Colleen to please get Whitney's dental records and get to the hospital. Carly, the sister, is pissed. She tells her mom that it's a sick scam. Don't you dare go. Block that number. They search the number. They do like a
Scam.
trace. Well, yeah. Well, not maybe not like a scam, but like a just some kids like fucking around. Oh, we
Oh,
have
like a prank.
yeah. A prank. Yeah, not a scam. She says, block that number. Don't you dare go. Like, this isn't funny. This is really fucked up,
Hmm.
whoever's doing this. But then they like call the number back and it goes to the hospital. So they call Newell, the dad, and update him. And Carly's like, don't you believe this for a second, Dad? And he doesn't. He's upset and he asks Colleen not to go. Like, what horrible heartbreak this is going to be. And there's really sick people in the world. Like, just wait for someone to call you again. Don't do this. Because again,
That's so crazy to me. I would be like, go up there and do a DNA test or whatever, you know?
yeah, but they're also thinking dozens and dozens of people have gone to see Laura at the hospital. Her best friends, her boyfriend, her family's been there. Like, there's no
Yeah.
way that no one has noticed this. It's been over a month. So their drive is like 5 hours. Carly's livid.
Did they look alike though?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they did. Carly's livid. On the way, they learned that Laura's family left the hospital. So then they're kind of like, oh, well, they've been there every single day. So they're like, oh shit, like maybe this, okay. Like that just kind of like validated them more, knowing that Laura's family had finally left the hospital. So Colleen and Carly get to the hospital and they're taken to Whitney's room and they just have the biggest sigh of relief. Like, I can't even wrap my head around what that would feel like emotionally, like a movie. It was Whitney, and they knew right away that it was Whitney when they saw
Yeah.
her. Um, I do wonder if Laura and Whitney were closer friends or even knew each other better at all, to where Whitney's parents would have gone in to see Laura and been like, wait a minute, that's my daughter.
Yeah.
Like, if they would have been closer friends at all, to it just would have taken the smallest little thing to be like, wait, what the fuck? Like, that's my kid. Like, would they have felt that or noticed that, or would Whitney have reacted in a way, like if she saw her actual mom come into the room, would she have like been able to react at all and be like, holy shit, like who am I, what do I even
Yeah.
look like, why, that's my mom. So anyway, they run to her, they're freaking out, they're saying her name over and over, and she's reacting as much as she can. They call her dad and they're like, it's Whitney, this is Whitney. He flies home. Laura's family is sick to their stomachs. Like, they don't want to be painted as these like freaks who were leaving this hospital with a daughter one way or the other. Like, they were just so distraught over losing their daughter that they're going to take this girl home or something.
Right.
So now they're grieving the loss of Laura. The parents did get together and it was nothing but empathy. Whitney's family knew Laura's family was about to go through what they had just gone through. And I wonder, I couldn't find, did this coroner like, I hope this coroner lost their job.
I
Because,
know.
like, if some rant, like, if just another student identified this body, I wouldn't imagine you just take, that's the coroner's job. I'd
I
be like, oh,
can't. I just
okay,
to
perfect.
have such a horrible accident where obviously people are horribly
Like,
disfigured to
mangled.
just do a visual, I think that's so and so
Yeah.
without verifying with dental
Yeah.
records or DNA or something.
Right. Or just being like, well, this purse was next to her, so
Yeah.
this is Whitney. I'd be like, well, also the bumper is in the tree.
Yeah, and her
So,
legs are
like,
above her head. Like, what the
and
fuck
her
are
legs, yeah, right, right. It's not, yeah. I would hope that something happened with this coroner. It was very difficult for Laura's family to explain how they didn't realize, but basically it came down to, they said, we didn't know that that was an option. Like, I didn't know that that could ever have even happened. She,
Right, yeah. I mean, you just trust, like,
right. Her
what
mom
they're
was like,
telling you.
we
You're not gonna be like, "Wait a minute, this isn't my daughter." You're like,
exactly. Her mom was like, we weren't here to identify someone. Like,
yeah.
that's, this was my kid. So they did an interview with Matt Lauer, which maybe I can post a clip of because it's like one of the only interviews that they did. And they basically said that they took care of our daughter like they would have their own. So, like, Whitney's parents basically said, we're grateful that Don and Susie were there. They took care of her. They have a daughter
Mhm.
around the same age. And then the two families co authored a book together called Mistaken Identity. And that's where most of this info is from. In late May that year, Laura's body was removed from the gravesite that Whitney's family had chosen, and Laura's funeral was held June 4th with her family and friends. And then in 2010, Whitney got married at the same church that held her funeral that she wasn't at.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Isn't that insane? So
Yeah.
she's married and she has 3 kids, and her family and Laura's family have remained in contact. The driver of the semi truck, his name was Robert Spencer, and he just fell asleep at the wheel
Oh my god.
for like 5 seconds. Fell asleep at the wheel because this was a busy highway. So it was for like a split second, closed his eyes, ran off, slammed into this van. He went to jail for a year. He
That's
killed
it?
5. Yes. He was charged with reckless homicide and criminal recklessness. Records show he drove over 9 hours longer than he was permitted to in a day.
Yeah,
So,
that I don't know. I just feel like that deserves a little bit more time than that.
yeah, he got out on good behavior.
Well, what was he sentenced to?
He was sentenced to 15, I want to say it was 15 years.
Oh, but he
Some
got out after a year?
He got out on
That's
good
crazy.
behavior. But even 15 years, you killed 5 people.
Yeah, but 15 sounds fair. He
Ugh.
didn't mean to.
And hit. Uh, okay. Well,
Well, he didn't mean to.
but he drove 9 hours longer than he knew that he should have been driving. If
Yeah.
and his trucking license whatever was suspended. Not revoked, just like suspended until all this was cleared up. So obviously the parents of the kids that died, they weren't happy about this at all. Monica's mom says 1 second of him shutting his eyes and our lives are completely changed and empty. This is I I don't know what I saw that reminded me of this story lately. I thought her wedding was more recently, not in 2010, or maybe something I followed just found out about this and they reposted it. But this is like one of 10 books I read in my whole life. I read this book. I was so obsessed with this.
Wow.
It was a long time ago though. But then I found a lot of the like book online. You can find a lot of it, but it's really really good. And Whitney's obituary is in the book also, which is crazy because she's
So
alive.
she made a full recovery. Like she has no
Yeah,
long lasting.
yeah,
Wow.
I know.
That's amazing.
Isn't it insane?
That's a crazy story.
I know. I know. It's a good one. Okay, so this week for our ender, we're going to try and make each other laugh.
Do you want to go back and forth? And
I
then
think
like
so.
if you laugh, I get a point. If I
Oh,
laugh, you get a point. You know what I mean? And then
yeah.
whoever has the most points, we'll do it
I
that
wish
way.
we had more than just 4 then.
Well,
Next time we do it, I'll have like 12. Cuz we got to kind of keep going until you laugh. Oh well, I only have 4.
all right.
And you better not mute your mic and laugh. Okay, do you want to
Hang on, let
say
me think of something sad. I'm just kidding.
that should be easy. I'm so going to win this. I just made you laugh twice before we even started.
You're right.
Okay, you go first.
Yo mama's so fat. I took a picture of her last Christmas and it's still printing. She's laughing, but it's silent.
I'm really just laughing at the fact that I almost put a Yo Mama joke and I was like, that is so dumb. I'm not
No.
doing I was like, I'm not doing a Yo Mama joke.
Okay, I don't know why, but all of mine are yo mama jokes.
They are?
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like you should get a point just for having a Yo Mama joke because that alone is funny. Because I wasn't gonna do it because I thought it was stupid. Okay, why can't Helen Keller drive a car?
Why?
Because she's dead.
That is pretty funny, actually. Your mama's so stupid, she put 2 quarters in her ears and thought she was listening to 50 Cent. She wants to.
So stupid, yeah.
She wants to laugh so hard.
Okay, 2 of mine are Helen Keller. If just saying Helen Keller is like, okay, here we
I
go.
know, it's an automatic.
So funny in itself. If Helen Keller falls in the woods, does it make a sound?
Yeah.
That's the joke.
Oh.
That's it. There's no punchline.
Actually, here's one that's not your mama. What do you call the space between Kim Kardashian's breast and butt cheeks?
What?
Silicon Valley. No.
No.
She's trying.
No.
She wants to. She wants to.
What did Michael Jackson call his denim store?
What?
Billie Jeans. It's
No.
just because you hate Michael Jackson.
Well, I hate pedophiles. What can I say?
That's what I meant to say.
All right. Your mama's so fat her belly button gets home 15.
Okay.
Your mama's so fat her belly button gets home 15 minutes before she does. That was so funny.
Just the belly button? You made a belly button joke? You hate belly buttons.
I do, but it was funny.
Okay, that's my last one. You ready?
Yeah.
What has 5 toes but isn't your foot?
What?
My foot.
I think we're laughing at our own jokes harder than we're laughing at each other's. All right, here's another one.
Okay.
Your mama's so ugly when she went into a haunted house, she came out with a job application.
Oh my god, what's so funny is that I feel like I've heard all of these when I was like 14.
I know. I saw one that was like, your mama's so skinny, she uses a Dorito as a like a hang glider. She hang glides on a Dorito or something. I thought that was hilarious. I remember seeing that when I was younger.
Oh my god.
Okay, here's one of my longer ones that I didn't want to do because I knew we would kind of be short back and forth, but I thought this one was funny. A boy is selling fish on a corner. To get his customers' attention, he's yelling, "Damn fish for sale! Get your damn fish here!" A pastor hears this and asks, "Why are you calling them damn fish?" And the boy responds, "Because I caught these fish at the local dam." The pastor buys a couple of fish and takes them home to his wife and asks her to cook the damn fish. The wife responds surprised, "I didn't know it was acceptable for a preacher to speak that way." And he explains to her why they are damn fish. Later at the dinner table, he asks his son to pass the damn fish. He responds, "That's the spirit, Dad. Now pass the fucking potatoes."
That's like my dad would tell jokes like that all the time. That's so funny.
It was
Wow.
hard to find. Like, I remember there used to be so many websites with all these jokes on them, and I could only find like it was so many lists were like
Like
25
jokes.com.
kids jokes, and I'm like, I don't want kids jokes, I want adult jokes. But then when you search for adult jokes, they're like so vulgar and disgusting. It's like,
I know.
okay,
I
well.
know. I know, they really were, like, so horrible. Or they're insanely, insanely racist, or
Right.
they have something to do with, like, pedophilia or, like I'm like, "Jesus, I just want why does it have to be this way?
I know.
Just make me laugh in a different way," and, like, a no like, I don't know, like, a R-rated, but not involving, like, child sex or something. Please.
Right, or even like sex at all. So many of them were like
Right.
just.
I know, I've never, like, really listened to really heard a sex joke that I thought was funny, but last night I was looking for some jokes, I was seeing if there was any on TikTok, and this guy said it was obviously two guys, so it was like very vulgar, but he was like, what's another thing that you can, or what's another phrase you can use for like coming in your wife? And the guy said, I don't know what. He said, loading the dishwasher.
Oh my god. I've heard that.
You have?
Mhm.
I've not heard. They laughed so hard. It was pretty vulgar.
Yeah, these are all like I don't know. It's like an era that has passed though.
I
Like
know.
I don't know,
I know.
just that kind of humor isn't funny anymore and it's so funny because like we're not prudes and we're not
I know. It's like,
it's just a different I don't know. It's hard
one,
to
like,
explain.
people think that a joke has to be so disgusting for it to be
Right, like a
funny.
shock value kind of thing.
Right, right, and it doesn't. Like, I just need some, like, witty, like my toes joke. That's the funniest thing that I've laughed. I've not laughed that hard at a joke since I was a kid, probably. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Maybe
Well, I
because also
thought
the video I saw was two aliens, and they're just sitting telling jokes to each other.
oh,
And they didn't have 5 toes either. Well, I think we can end this, right?
yeah, we can.
Okay, bye guys.
All right, love you, bye.
Love you, bye.